So first and foremost,
I think the addition of pant leggings is really when you start to see your heroes get watered down.
can't even muster the ability to play straight pants that one.
Which is a good argument for absolute rulers.
Everybody is going to get behind me. They're all going to love me, and my support numbers will go through.
When you hang out with the hero, it doesn't go well for you. My grandfather took the cob and just slid it right through the bar.
Oh, God. Okay.
And that became the dominant way our family did it.
Okay.
And so, in both of my marriages, they were treated to that.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Yeah, rage haiku.
How do you imagine the rubber chicken point?
My grandmother actually vacuumed in her pearls. Oh my God, it all makes sense. We'd had the sexual revolution.
It might have just been a Canadian standoff. We're going to go back to 9/11.
Dude, get over it. Nobody understands what the Bill of Rights is supposed to be.
Agra has no business being that thick.
When the cultists win, we all lose.
This is a geek history of time.
Where we connect nerdery to the real world. I'm a world history and English teacher here in Northern California, and I am a few days away from going on my first interstate trip cross-country trip in quite some time. We're going to be visiting with extended family. Everybody we're going to be seeing is vaccinated, which is good. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It is going to be in Florida in June.
Whew.
Central Florida in June. So, that's going to suck, but, the trip itself, I'm very much excited about, looking forward to it. There's going to be members of the extended family. Our little boy is going to be meeting for the first time.
Ooh, always excited.
So that's going to be cool. And Disney World. We're doing Dumbo or Die in a Day. And I get to take him on the teacups.
Nice.
Which, as a little kid, that was my favorite thing in Disneyland. Well, that and the Dumbo ride, the big flying Dumbo. Yeah. Both of which my wife has said no.
Okay.
Just no.
Like you don't get to, or she's not going to? Oh, okay.
She's hard pass.
Gotcha.
Because she doesn't want to wind up vomiting in front of our son.
Oh, okay. Does she understand that things will be spinning, so even if she vomits in front of him, it'll actually hit to her right?
Yeah,
you let her know.
I don't think that'd be a selling point. But right. I'm very excited about all of that. That's what I've got going on.
Nice.
Who are you? What's happening in your world?
I'm Damian Harmony. I'm a local Latin teacher at the high school level here in Northern California. I am not going anywhere or doing anything exciting. I'm hoping to just kind of just going to focus on me. And no,
okay,
I'm actually
just get in touch with what you need right now.
Yeah, no, actually, what I'll probably end up doing is some deep cleaning of this house, and
well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely focus on the living space, and continue teaching my kids Latin through the summer. So that's
today was our little boy's last day in daycare until August because I am contractually unemployed for the next 2 months, and I'm both very excited about the adventure that's going to be involved, and I'm looking on, I get to be a full-time parent, and there's kind of that, what am I going to do with him for all those hours of the day kind of thing going on. I mean, I've done it before. I'm sure
he's older and more capable of things. You will find that it's actually easier this year than it was last year.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt. Yeah. So. All
right, in our last episode,
yes.
We really didn't cover wrestling from 2001 to 2002, and
I can hear the collective screaming through time.
Yes.
Through time.
Yes.
I have not even taken any spice, and I can hear the future right now.
Okay, but
because even without Mentat powers, I can calculate that that's gonna fucking happen.
Someday we do need to have a talk about Muhammad Hassan as played by Mark Caboti. Oh, God. They could have done something cool. They did something worse, and then they made sure that it was an Italian guy playing somebody swarthy yet again. It used to be that pro wrestler Indians were always played by Italians as well. It's just a thing that happened. And Russians, oddly enough, like, always.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Russians as swarthy?
Yeah.
Like florid? Okay, I can see. Like flush faced?
No.
But...
You would have Italians pretending to be Soviets.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, okay, yes. But yeah.
Like I have neighbors and like folks working in my apartment complex who are first generation. That's not what they look like.
Nope.
They're not.
But if you're in Tennessee, it totally is if they're wearing a red singlet with a hammer and sickle on it.
Okay.
But that's going to be part of my Memphis wrestling as, you know,
oeuvre.
Yeah, as mirrors Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis's career as a professional debutante.
You know, the funny thing about that is you're saying that as a joke, but I could totally see you do that and make it...
I can draw that line.
And make it, if not make sense, then at least have a through line that could be followed.
Yeah.
But no, in our last episode, we got... apparently almost all of that out of our systems. And then we got started talking about Dune.
Oh, yeah.
And we ended our last episode with you predicting
yes
what was going to happen in the book, what the book was going to be about.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, let's see, it was Empire in Decline.
Yep.
It was clearly bad people are in charge, but the people who were overthrowing them are going to make you uncomfortable.
Yes.
Okay.
Their cause is righteous. Their methods might not be.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And
oil.
Yeah. Okay. You're close everywhere.
Neat.
You're on the nose once.
Ah.
So we'll get into it.
Yeah.
All right. So, but we left off. I was talking about the state of the world in 1965, the historical context in which the book was published.
Yeah.
And we had finished talking about disintegration of empires, which is why it was front of your mind there. Mm-hmm. And, the state of the Cold War, Eisenhower Doctrine in 57 being a thing that would put the Middle East on American kind of radar. All right, so now I want to talk about the state of science fiction as a genre.
Okay.
In the time period.
Okay.
So we have a context because part of what we're going to get into is how Dune affected the genre, and so we need to know kind of where the genre was.
Right.
So in the early 60s, as I briefly mentioned last time, the pulps had died out. Mm-hmm. The adventure story pulps, the ones with, Robert E. Howard's boxer character and, the gunslingers and the private detectives and all of those things, those had either shifted into being like novels in the case of, Dashiell Hammett and noir detective stories and that stuff, or they'd just gone into comics. They'd become Western comics. They'd become adventure comics. But science fiction as a genre had kind of split off, and the science fiction pulps had turned into kind of smaller format digest magazines. Right. And by the 60s, the market was beginning to shrink because there had been this huge volume of stuff being put out in the 30s and 40s. Mm-hmm. And like the appetite for this stuff had been voracious and had been read kind of everywhere. And the audience was shrinking because media was now starting to compete. We see television showing up in the 50s, beginning to become widespread.
Yes.
And so, there was already some competition from radio, but TV created this new avenue of competition, this other thing that people were, putting their eyeballs on rather than the pages of a magazine. Mm-hmm. And so that market is beginning to shrink. So the digests are getting fewer and fewer. Mm-hmm. And a really important figure during this time in science fiction publishing and in the genre is John W. Campbell, who literary science fiction types are gonna hear me say this and go, well, I mean, yeah, you got to talk about Campbell. And Campbell was this incredibly powerful, very important editor.
Okay.
Essentially.
Okay.
And He was a very, very big influence on the genre as a whole based on the kind of stuff he was publishing. Other editors took cues from what he was looking for. Writers, of course, were taking his notes going, okay. No, change this up, do this thing, do this. Right. And so we start seeing in the 50s and the very early 60s, we start seeing the genre in large part thanks to Campbell moving away from planetary adventure. Okay. Which was the overarching theme in
it was the convention at the time. It was the
convention at the time of what a science fiction story was. And we're starting to move into being more sophisticated, more literary kind of work with fuller characterization and bigger ideas. This is the very, very beginnings, in the early 50s and then into the 60s. We start seeing the very beginnings of what we would call literary science fiction. We start seeing the beginnings of what we call soft science fiction.
Okay. I'm going to need some terms there.
Okay. So literary science fiction is exactly what it says on the tin. It is a science fiction story that is literary in nature and is focused on the internal character driven, a literary story arc.
Okay.
Where you have, there's more internal life to the characters. It's less like an early Shakespearean revenge play and more like Hamlet.
Okay.
To give a literary analogy that would kind of make that easier to understand. And so that's literary SF.
Okay.
Which is now largely dominant and as the archetype for stories. You don't get a lot of John Carter of Mars sword swinging.
Right.
This is, I give you a physical description of my hero, and then I don't really spend an awful lot of time in his head.
Right.
Now, we know, there's an awful lot of emotional, complexity. There's more depth to characterization.
Right.
So that's literary science fiction.
Okay.
Soft science fiction is science fiction that deals with society and philosophy and social issues in a speculative way.
Okay.
As opposed to earlier science fiction. Now, I'm not going to say hard science fiction because you can have a soft science fiction story that in common parlance is very hard, and I'm going to get into explaining that in a second. But soft science fiction as a subgenre is speculative fiction about social developments. If a story is primarily about what is the world going to look like with overcrowding and climate change in the next 30 years, the parts of it that are dealing with overcrowding and the social changes is going to be soft science fiction.
Yeah, see, I always thought that's just what sci-fi was. So that's a subset. Okay,
because earlier science fiction had been about, let's talk about the physics of this situation. A story like The Cold Equations. There's a very significant portion of the story in The Cold Equations that is all about physics and math, and we only have so much fuel in the ship. Okay. This is kind of how things have to go. Now, The Cold Equations can also be looked at through a soft science fiction lens because of the things it says about corporate greed and industrial, safety regulations and all that kind of stuff. And that story has been critiqued left, right, and center, politically, economically, morally, by a whole host of people.
Sure.
But, if you're talking about the physics of a problem, or you're talking about astral mechanics, or you're talking about chemistry,
right,
or the mechanisms of faster than light travel, that's more
classical hard
science
with quotes
fiction,
on it.
Science fiction.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, when I say that you can have a soft science fiction story that is hard, there's also hard SF and soft SF in the sense of, are you writing a space opera story like Star Wars, which is basically science fantasy, hand-wavium to explain, well, we have hyperspace, and that's how we get from place to place? Or are you writing a story more like Contact?
Okay.
In which, no, we're going to talk about the science that's involved, and everything that I'm writing in this story has to be scientifically plausible.
But it's really about someone's internal struggle or internal life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay.
but all the science is, or The Martian
Right.
would be a really good example of a hard science fiction story that is still literary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it a soft SF story because it's the struggle this one guy has, and it's man versus environment. So he doesn't.
It's
get
a survival
into sociology.
story. Yeah.
It's a survival story.
Yeah.
So it's not in this vein that I'm talking about.
Whereas if we looked at, say, Pitch Black, that could be considered more of a soft sci-fi because you are using that same problem that he faced, stuck on a planet, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it's showing how everybody's personalities come out and how they deal with the thing.
Yes.
Okay, I see it.
And it's also softer in the sense that, okay, we're going to take for granted that we have faster than light travel, we have prison planets, we have this, that, and the other thing.
Yes.
And it doesn't spend a lot of time going into the details of
Here's
how
we
works.
got there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a ripping adventure yarn.
Right.
It spends a lot of time talking about the interplay between these characters, how they're all going to react.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about. Soft science fiction. When I talk about Dune as soft science fiction, it is sociological, philosophical soft science fiction. It's also literary because we spend an awful lot of time inside everybody's head. My God, these characters can't ever get out of their fucking heads.
Well, why would you if the language is so flowy?
Oh God.
So, as you said last time.
Yeah. Well, flowery. I don't know about flowy, but definitely elaborate. And so that's when in the context of talking about Dune, when I call it soft science fiction, that's what I'm talking about. Now it is also it is straight up planetary romance, which is not hard SF.
Okay.
Because
it's not so much how he got there or how the weapons are made or anything like that.
He doesn't explain how the spice gives you psychic powers. It's
right.
just, this is the spice that gives you psychic powers. We need those psychic powers because Hydraulic Empire.
Right.
Okay, right. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about there. And so during this time period, prior to Dune, we're starting to see the beginnings of soft SF.
Okay.
Okay, the very earliest kind of, touching around the edges of it. We're starting to see the beginnings of it. And literary science fiction, same kind of way. Now, the genre was still at this time dominated almost entirely by white men. Now, Andre Norton was a major female voice in the genre already. C.J. Cherryh, Ursula K. Le Guin were getting published. So don't anybody at me about you just erased these, critically important women in the canon of science fiction. No, I know they were there. But again,
they
remember...
were outstanding. They
were outstanding. Just like I said in the last episode, we remember them because they stood out. And the overwhelming majority of authors at the time were male, and the even more overwhelming majority were white. Critics at the time were not giving Norton... Norton is a really special case. Norton got critical attention from the beginning. But Cherryh and Le Guin, I can never remember whether to say her last name Le Guin or Le Guin. Somebody please tell us on Twitter. They were getting published, but critics were not giving them the same attention as male writers. And the feminist ideas that were starting to appear in their work didn't get acknowledged didn't really start getting attention and really being taken seriously until the 70s. So we're still a decade away from that.
Right. And what a decade, by the way. Yeah. Like it is a decade in number only.
Yeah.
In terms of actual change over time, it's a generation at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wikipedia estimates that women made up about 10% to 15% of published SF writers during this time period. There is debate. Apologists want to try to argue, to me it's unconvincing, but they want to try to argue that SF was always a welcoming place for outsiders, to which I respond that Isaac Asimov, who's a titan within the genre, was a known, what's the phrase, trick step at conventions. The person that, like, if you're in the know, to kind of stay away.
We've mentioned this a number of times.
That step is wonky, kind of give him space.
Oh, okay.
That he was getting away with making rude jokes, touching women inappropriately, and like beyond even the level to which that was background noise in
Right,
that generation.
right.
He was known as a dirty old man for years,
And allowed to be,
and
more importantly.
and was
Yeah.
and was aided and abetted and enabled is the word I've been hunting for there. And so you can tell me all you want that the space was welcoming to outsiders, and then I'm going to throw that back at you. Because that gets in the way of women being comfortable in those spaces, being able to have conversations with other writers, with publishers, to make the kinds of social connections that lead to them moving up within the genre, within the industry. So yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
stepping off my soapbox there for a moment. But so anyway, that's kind of what was going on publishing wise. Twilight Zone ended in 64.
Yep.
Outer Limits ran until 1965.
Right.
And I think this is important. Star Trek didn't start until 66.
Correct.
So the idea of Trek, the particular philosophy, the particular everything that was part of Roddenberry's vision,
Right.
is a different animal
Yes.
from what we see in Dune.
Yes.
And so that's they're not they're two branches.
I was gonna say it's almost like
of the tree.
Yeah.
You know, moving from similar rootstock, but going philosophically in different.
there is an evolutionary divide right there.
Yes.
Between those two
Yes,
as they become separate species.
Yeah.
Maybe in the
or
same
genera.
genus. Yeah.
You know, they're
I don't know my taxonomy well,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking bonobos versus chimps.
I might even go back farther. Than
Okay, so monkeys and apes.
monkeys and apes.
Okay.
I'm
Cool.
gonna make it a bigger split
Sure,
than that
sure.
in my own head. That's kind of how I see it.
I just Gene
Yeah.
Roddenberry trying to fuck everything.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, well, so he'd be a bonobo, and I'm trying to think. Anyway, we could.
Yeah.
Someday we'll have to come up with a way to expand that analogy in another episode because I want to have that talk. But, so on TV, we've had Twilight Zone, we've had Outer Limits, which are both anthology series.
Self-contained.
Which were self-contained, and neither of which, number one, they never had an overarching arc.
Correct.
And number two, they didn't, because of budgetary issues and small screen, you didn't see a lot of sweeping galactic vistas. The scale of all of the stories, owing to the size of that box, the scale of the stories was all
It's all soft.
very close, very personal, and it is all soft science fiction. Yes. Stranger in a Strange Land by Heinlein.
Right.
Who, remember I mentioned, Herbert said
is my idol.
is one of my dudes.
Yeah.
Was published in 61.
Okay.
Now, brief segue to talk about Stranger in a Strange Land. Because when we talked about Heinlein, I briefly got into it. Stranger in a Strange Land is a philosophical science fiction book. Where Heinlein riffs on sexuality, organized religion, politics, but mostly sexuality and organized religion. Those are like the two biggest things there.
I just wonder how long the erection lasted for Gene Roddenberry as he was coming through that.
I'm sure Gene Roddenberry read Stranger in a Strange Land and was like, yes, all of this. Oh my God. And the thing is, Heinlein, in the end, comes around to reaffirming spirituality.
Oh, okay.
Comes around to reaffirming there is an order to the galaxy, there is an order to the universe, there is an intelligence to the universe, and it is ultimately benign.
That's interesting because I don't know if you remember, but when we talked about Starship Troopers, I'd mentioned that one of the sequels to the Starship Troopers movie, because there were like 2 or 3 sequels.
Yeah.
One of them was just
straight to video.
Yeah, well, but one of them, and it was the one that had T'Pol in it.
Yeah.
The gal who played T'Pol. I don't remember her name right now, but it'll come to me.
Jillian Blaylock?
Yeah, Jillian Blaylock. But you've got
a
home name advantage.
Got a lot of questions about whether she was a cousin of mine. I was like,
She always say yes. always say yes.
I said I don't know.
My brother always says that, he's really upset at the former attorney general bringing the family name down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Jolene Blalock was in the one where it is, it's still that world.
Yeah.
And it does come back around to like religion and spirituality are very much an important part of the human experience, and therefore a benign, a good, a mathematical good.
Okay.
In terms
an absolute good.
Yeah, an absolute good. And so it's just interesting that Heinlein did actually write something that came to that same conclusion. And now I'm starting to wonder if the directors were not trying to service that in some way, instead of just kind of going off on their own and going, I like Jesus though. So
could be.
Yeah.
I'd have
that
to,
is heartening,
I'd have to watch
to be
it
honest.
to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and now that I've kind of, I haven't given away the plot of the ending, but I've kind of given away, the ultimate conclusion he comes to. But along the way, he makes a series of very sharp satirical jabs at organized religion. And at, the way that people wind up bending it to their own needs. Mm-hmm. And then the interplay between morality and religion and sexuality. Mm-hmm. The simplification of the main characters of the religion that the main character winds up founding is everybody involved winds up being in one very large polycule. Within the religious community, they don't just practice symbolic cannibalism the way Christians do. They actually practice when one of the members of the community dies, we make them part of ourselves. Okay. By putting them in the spaghetti. Which was this like wildly radical, holy shit kind of, controversial thing in the book at the time. Now we've seen so much more shocking stuff.
Well, they popularized it in the movie 8 Mile with Eminem. Because there's
spaghetti.
Yeah. Vomit on his sweater already. It's mom's spaghetti.
Yeah, I'm not even.
It's not mom's spaghetti. It's mom spaghetti.
Spaghetti. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well,
mom's
there you
spaghetti.
Go. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not. No.
No.
Not a good. Not a good day, sir.
Okay.
So, but he goes on this long riff about religion and religion's interrelationship with all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so there are some very, very big ways in which we can see this showing up in Herbert's thinking. Okay. When we get into the philosophy that he gets into, that he explores in Dune. And also importantly, Stranger in a Strange Land became a huge youth counterculture hit. Okay. The phrase, "Can you grok?"
Right.
Became part of hippie parlance.
Right.
Taken from the Martian language in which drinking is grok. Okay. But what's important about that is Heinlein went off on kind of a linguist riff because there's so much more depth of meaning to it. It's not just to drink something and quench your thirst. Right. There is quenching of thirst. There is absorbing something into yourself and making it part of you.
Right. We talked about this with Heinlein.
Yeah, and understanding and all of this other kind of stuff. Sure. And so that like, whoa, man, that's deep, which it is. To be honest, but that became part of the parlance of counterculture. That became part of the vocabulary. Right. At the same time as Eastern mysticism was being, adopted in bits and pieces. And, yep. We had a discussion about appropriation of it when we were talking about Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And so Stranger in a Strange Land became this thing that was part of mass consciousness coming out of the science fiction genre. Mm-hmm. Okay. Which is important later on down the line. Now, the other big book that was huge in the counterculture was Lord of the Rings, and not just in the counterculture. It was recognized in the mainstream, but it was huge in counterculture.
Yeah, and even though it had been written so long before, it's college students that are kind of picking it up.
Yeah. And Lord of the Rings had originally been published in the U.S. in 1957. Mm-hmm. The Hobbit, as we all know from Falcon and Winter Soldier, was 1937, but getting off the subject. And Lord of the Rings was hugely popular by the standards of genre fiction by 1965. 1965, it should be noted, is the year that a paperback edition was put out in the U.S., which was the edition that I first read because my father had a copy of it in the Ballantine paperback edition from 65, frequently referred to as the hippie edition.
Oh.
Because the artwork that was on it was incredibly evocative.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, really evocative. Very, not abstract, but very, very impressionistic.
Uh-huh.
And not very accurate to anything that was actually in the books. But looking at it, there was a definite emotional message that came off the cover, and it had a profound impact on my own imagination as a kid. And so overall, in 1965, we have science fiction that's going through this transition from we want to write stories to educate people about science and make it not feel like you're eating your vegetables.
Right.
To, no, if we're going to play with ideas, let's play with ideas. And while we're playing with ideas, let's also actually tell stories about people and do their internal, talk about what's going on in their heads and their emotional states.
Right.
And develop actual characters. And we have science fiction being there in the mainstream and some things getting picked up and being popular.
Sure.
And a lot of stuff still being very niche. And, we've talked about, you did an excellent couple of episodes about the Twilight Zone. They were popular. They were held on to by a subset of the population for a very long time as beloved kind of cultural touchstones. But at the time, they were never must-see TV. They were never huge ratings hits.
Right.
And Lord of the Rings was mostly a youth culture, counterculture thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the overarching environment in which Herbert went to 20 publishers before finally getting to Chilton and getting Chilton to agree to publish this serial of his that he had edited into a novel, or pair of serials that he had edited into a novel. And so I think the best thing to do next is to summarize, as much as we can summarize it, the plot and universe of Dune.
Okay.
And I'm going to pause right here to allow all of the Dune fans in the audience to get over the fit of hysterical laughter they're about to have. Because summarizing this is a joke.
Yeah, I'm not in on the jokes. I genuinely thought you were going to summarize.
There is a shit ton going on here. So the summary of the plot of the book that I'm about to give, well, people are going to have a reaction to it. So anyway, Paul Atreides, the heir of Duke Leto Atreides by Lady Jessica, travels with his father and his father's household from his birth world, the oceanic paradise Caladan, to Arrakis, known colloquially as Dune, because it's covered by deserts.
Okay.
Dune is important because it is the only known source of the spice melange, a substance that extends life and grants psychic powers. Because of the psychic powers part, it's a critical part of the galaxy's economy because precognition is required for spaceships to navigate at faster than light speeds.
And I would imagine also, if you imbibe the spice, then you would be able to, I don't know, like, with precognition, know what people are wanting. And so, like, if your sister took the spice as a girl, she could tell you what you want, what you really, really want. And you would tell her what you want, what you really want. Yeah. So, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
I am so angry at you right now. Good day, sir. God damn it, that's awful.
What? That'd be a scary amount of spice, really. Especially if a ginger got a hold of the spice.
You know, I'm pretty sure. I'm not pretty sure. I'm certain that there are any number of memes that involve all of them with blue and blue glowing eyes.
Oh, good.
Spice
good.
Girls. I'm sure. Like, so, it has to be.
Was it restricted to the wealthy though? Was it just posh spice?
Oh, wow. Or athletes, sporty spice.
Right, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah. No. But House Harkonnen is full of redheads. So there
ginger
was lots
spice.
of ginger spice. Yeah.
And Paul's sister, as we said, was younger, so obviously baby spice.
Baby spice, yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny, we'll get to that because that's actually more on the nose than right now. So Paul's father and most of his father's army wound up being killed by the family's ancient enemies, House Harkonnen, with the help of the Emperor, who sees Duke Leto as a threat.
Okay.
Paul flees to join the indigenous population of Arrakis, the Fremen, with his mother. Fremen.
That sounds really similar to a word for North Africans. I don't remember what the word is, though. Not Bedouin, but...
I'm pretty sure it's just a contraction of free men.
Oh, okay.
But
Cool.
we might look it up
here
in a minute. Along the way,
Mm-hmm.
Paul finds out he's a super psychic, becomes the leader of the Fremen, ultimately overthrows the Emperor and takes his place, using control of the spice as leverage.
Oh, man.
He who can destroy a thing controls a thing.
Fuck.
What?
Well, just like I had hoped, and I had predicted, so, I'm a little bummed that I was this far wrong. But Little Rich Boy comes back using the indigenous peoples to just make himself, and his family that had been slightly deposed.
Oh, we gotta get into the philosophy of this because here's the thing. That's a summary of the plot of the first of the book.
Okay.
Stripped down to comprehensibility, and let me explain to you what literally happens in the story.
Right.
In 5 minutes or less.
Sure.
But,
well done.
But to anybody who is a fan of the book,
Mm-hmm.
I just committed a crime. Because there are so many details.
You left out Tom Bombadil.
I left out to summarize what I fucked up. I left out Tom Bombadil, and I left out the Scouring of the Shire, which I think is a bigger deal.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, we're talking inside baseball at this point. Or whatever sport hobbits play. I
imagine rounders.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Just kind of.
So we need. So that's what happens in the book.
Right.
But there's so much more to the book than just that coming of age, planetary romance, revenge story.
Mm-hmm.
There's all this world building, and there's all of these layers of intrigue outside of Paul and his mother and the Fremen, and everything that's going on in imperial politics surrounding all of this. And I didn't even mention Baron Harkonnen and the shit that happens in Baron Harkonnen's family.
Okay.
Like Baron Harkonnen and his nephews jockeying, and Baron Harkonnen manipulating both of his nephews against each other.
And recalling a simpler time to justify it because he's Harkonnen back to that.
Nicely done. I'm not even mad about that one. That's good. So the universe of Dune is so big.
Mm-hmm.
And Herbert does this amazing job of making it feel vast and impossibly ancient and impossibly far in the future.
Okay.
And lived in.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it with, because I've mentioned this before, the price of this is we get a whole lot of exposition from a whole lot of characters in a lot of places. And sometimes it's incredibly ham-fisted. But at other times, it's done in this really deft, remarkably well done way.
Cool.
And so, my summary doesn't get to the ideas that he's talking about,
Sure,
which are huge. As I kind of already said it, the plot arc, just this is the story of Paul Atreides, is a pretty bog standard planetary romance, a la John Carter of Mars.
Sure.
But it transcends planetary romance because it speaks to huge, vast themes and socio-political philosophy and history and genetics and okay, fuck it, we just got to get started.
Yeah.
So the Galactic Padishah Empire, the overarching setting,
sure,
is the result of thousands of years of human diaspora.
Okay.
It's a vast network of worlds that either were habitable from the beginning or were terraformed so long ago that everybody takes it largely for granted.
Sure.
One of the things that people keep bringing up all the time throughout the book, one of the mysteries about Arrakis is, why haven't they just controlled the weather to not make it an inhospitable desert over 70% of its surface? Like, we know there are weather control, like they refer to weather control stations. And part of the intrigue and part of the mystery of the planet and part of the reveal is, well, yes, there are. And we learn what the machinations have been that have kept them that way.
Okay.
But so we know that establishes for us that terraforming is a thing, that the technology exists to reshape planets, but it hasn't worked on Dune. And one of the earliest conversations that's an exposition at the beginning of the book is, well, okay, they have weather control. Like, why don't they just use weather control satellites? Well,
right.
The magnetic field of the planet and the sandstorms, destroy stuff. And it's just so, and the explanation everybody in universe has bought is, no, it's just so incredibly harsh that it's just not feasible. It's not financially feasible. It's too expensive. Nobody can marshal the resources to have it done.
So it is actually possible, but it is not practical.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is a really good hand wavy way to do it.
Yeah, if you're gonna hand wavy him something, that's a
good one.
That's an easy one to buy.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, we don't desalinate ocean water.
Yeah.
We have the ability.
We have the capacity.
Right.
Earth never gets mentioned.
Again,
Earth
taken for
never
granted.
Comes
though, right?
up. Yeah, and
diaspora out the wazoo.
And it's happened in later books in the original trilogy or in the original series, because it's more than 3 books, but in later books in this series, Paul's son, who because the book moves through generations.
Okay.
Paul's son, if I'm remembering correctly, at a couple of points, has mentions, the planet we all came from is so dimly remembered, we don't even remember where in the galaxy it is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so
it's like the reverse of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. And
do you think BSG was kind of responding to that?
I think
partly. Oh, we kind of like this idea. Let's invert it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a theme that could be. We're gonna have these people hunting for Earth because it's so far in the future that they don't remember where it is.
Right.
And I think definitely based on the timeline, I think it could be taken from that. And for me, the fact that they not even in passing, Earth never comes up in the course of the book.
Okay.
The Imperial capital planet doesn't actually get named. It's just referred to as the Throne World. We find out later on it's the planet Khitan.
Okay.
Or Khitan. No, Khitan, sorry. Now the Emperor, the Padishah Emperor, Shaddam IV, rules from the planet Khitan, and his supremacy over the nobles of his empire is assured by the terrifying Sardaukar, who are his hardened elite soldiers whose cruelty and ruthlessness is legendary and whose origins and training are a very closely guarded secret.
Is this where you get the space folding because so many of them can fit in a single Sardaukar and you just let them out and they just keep coming out?
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Yeah. Now it turns out the Emperor's legions all come from the hellish prison planet of Seleucus Secundus. And their toughness and ruthless cruelty is a result of having been raised on a hell planet.
Okay.
But
I'm hearing so many echoes in other things.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the really terrible version of Pitch Black, the sequel. You have the Necromongers, the Emperor of the Necromongers, Furorans, and Riddick being born of them and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So again,
but this is also, and you haven't really touched on it yet, and maybe you will, but this seems really, really Hebrew. The sun
really
being
Semitic.
Semitic, yeah. I would say Hebrew because you mentioned the diaspora.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Well, I just used
Yeah.
diaspora as a term. For,
True.
I used it in a very generalized kind of way.
But it does feel very Semitic in that the sun is very, very important. Like SON, not SUN. Yeah. So.
Well,
okay.
and that's also a trope because we're talking about an intergalactic aristocracy and
True.
primogeniture.
Yeah, you're right.
I think there is a very strong influence from Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay.
Here,
yeah.
and so we're seeing
British
a
Semitism
European,
in some weird way.
a European aristocratic set of ideals commingling with very, very clearly, like the Fremen are clearly expies for the Bedouin.
Okay, yeah.
So that's more what was going on in Herbert's imagination in his head here, and so the Emperor has this army of terrifying super soldiers.
I know I said Semitic. I'm sorry to come back to this real quick. His name's Paul.
Yes.
So there's there's some stuff going on there. But okay, anyway. So terrifying super soldiers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, as I already mentioned, they are as terrifying as they are because they've all been raised on a death world and then trained to be fanatically loyal to the Emperor because he's the one who's going to take them and make them elite and get them out of this hellhole world. And because of their upbringing, because of the hardship they've been through, they're worth 20 ordinary men and all this psyops kind of stuff. Now, speaking of fighting men within this universe, combat is a very retro affair. Swords and knives.
Single combat.
Single combat or massed combat with hand-to-hand weapons.
Oh, wow.
And the reason for this, in universe, is high-speed projectile weapons have been rendered pointless by personal force fields. The technology exists. That you have a shield generator.
I remember that in the movie.
You have a shield generator on your belt.
Right.
One of the things that keeps coming up is, the slow knife pierces the shield.
Right.
So you have to fight with a certain level of finesse. And so there's a great deal of skill involved in being a warrior. And
they touched on that in Clone Wars. Teaching Saw Gerrera to throw a grenade when he was a teenager, to throw a grenade under the shield generator of Droideka.
Okay, well there you go.
So,
So again, influences being felt
too fast, it bounces off the shield. Too slow, it doesn't get there. You just gotta get it just right.
Get it just right. Yeah. And so, now energy weapons do exist. They have las guns.
Okay.
But if you hit a shield with a las gun beam, it generates a fusion explosion that is highly unpredictable, but universally lethal to both the firer and the target.
Well, but if it's from a distance, does it just travel back?
The reaction is unpredictable. At the very least, it's going to travel back along the path of the laser beam and burn both of you in radioactive flame.
Okay.
Alternatively, everybody around you could get really unlucky and you just set off an H-bomb.
Right, you just killed 7 people because your George Lasgun be all the way back to you.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so I love this dodge.
Okay.
This talk about hand wavium. This gives us an interstellar aristocratic empire that is built around all of those tropes from the Age of Chivalry.
Right.
In a setting where that shouldn't make any sense.
Right, because you have such technology.
You have faster than light. You have personal fucking force. Like you have the ability to create a force field, which, as far as anybody can figure out, essentially violates all the laws of physics as we understand them now. Like, energy just doesn't work that way.
Right.
So you can do that. You have faster than light travel. You have weather control. You have all this amazing technology, but you still have an entrenched noble class with armies of fairly elite hand-to-hand combat warriors.
Knights.
You're like,
there's something
it wouldn't
about...
make sense if you didn't come. You have to come up with an explanation of why that is. And of all of the solutions anybody's come up with, I look at that one and go, all right, that one I'll buy.
See, it's interesting too, because I remember, like, there's essentially, and you know this better than I, during medieval times, there's an arms race between weapons and armor.
Oh, yeah.
And every time armor gets a leg up, somebody comes with a better weapon. So, you found armor that doesn't pierce? We're going to bludgeon you. Oh, you found armor that stands up to bludgeoning? Here's a stick. We're just going to fire it really fast at you. You know? And then, you gave up on everything, and now you're just sending guys out wearing shirts when you could have been wearing quilted armor again, which was standing up to slashing, but now we've moved on. This world is one in which the armor won, not the weapon won.
Yeah.
I find that interesting.
You know, in political science, back in college, one of the central themes that we got into talking about was the balance of power between defensive technology and offensive technology, and the effect that has on politics.
Yes.
When defense is in the ascendant, when I can just sit here behind the Maginot line and fuck you can't get to me. I have all the entrenchments. That's a very different environment from I figured out Blitzkrieg. Fuck all y'all.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
The calculus that political actors go through.
Oh, it was all about. Yeah.
Is dramatically different when the energy expenditure involved in using violent action to gain our goals is worth it, as opposed to we're going to get stomped,
right?
Or not even we're going to get stomped, but no, we'll win, but the amount of energy we're going to have to expend is huge,
right?
You know, leads to stalemate, leads to Cold Wars.
I was going to say, I mean, it basically, if you have defense as being ascendant, you have essentially cunning as being your main weapon, and you have treaties and diplomacy as being your main way of conquering.
Tools of conquest, tools of statecraft.
Because I'm thinking of Troy.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking of all the shit that Romulus did. Jesus, that guy was such a brilliant prick. But like, and I'm thinking of the Ottoman Empire. Yeah. And the fall of Constantinople.
Yes.
And stuff like that, and the use of plague bodies and shit like that. Like, you get you can stand up to your this here siege. Cool. We're gonna poison your water.
Yeah.
No,
the Dirty Tricks Brigade gets much more important. And by the way, speaking of, we got multiple Dirty Tricks Brigades in the Padishah Empire.
Oh, good.
Everybody really is a Dirty Tricks Brigade. So the first Dirty Tricks Brigade we're going to talk about is the Bene Gesserit, who are a sisterhood. It is an all-female society. Okay. And I say society in the sense of organization. Not culture. Because they're part of the overarching culture. But they're a quasi-religious sisterhood who have made themselves indispensable to the nobility by learning to read people in excruciating detail. Sisters of the Bene Gesserit are trained in walking into a room and reading somebody in a matter of moments. In 2 or 3 verbal exchanges,
they've got you figured
out.
Yeah.
And so in this setting, that's really, if you have a Bene Gesserit as your...
Again, that steps up your cunning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they are trained in multiple languages. They were trained to be, diplomats, managers, soft power manipulators. Right. Now they are also simultaneously, and this is they keep this close to the vest. Everybody suspects it. And the Bene Gesserit consistently, Herbert, like over and over and over again, uses the phrase Bene Gesserit witch.
I was going to ask.
Characters continually use that phrase over and over, to the point that 2 of the major characters, Lady Jessica and Thufir Hawat, she calls him on it when he stops himself short of saying it to her face. She says, no. Say what you were going to say.
Yeah.
I know you say it.
Right.
Bene Gesserit witch. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, spoiler alert, she shows him just exactly how powerful she is. Because what they're able to do, they not only can read you instantaneously, once they've read you, they can manipulate the pitch and intonation of their voice to essentially compel you to do shit.
Okay.
So think the cleric spell command.
Right.
Sit down.
Right.
And they will know exactly the pitch to get right straight to your lizard brain.
You're right.
And you will not be able to not sit down. In Jessica and Paul's escape after Leto and the rest of House Atreides are betrayed and killed in the invasion, at one point they're being hauled out into the desert to be killed and dumped in the desert, and they've got 2 pilots, one of whom has been intentionally rendered deaf. So because they know she's a Bene Gesserit and they know they can do shit.
Right.
So we're going to make sure.
It's like a different version of Unix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but only one of them is deaf. She gets a read on both of them. And the one pilot who is not deaf, she says, "Oh, gentlemen, you don't need to fight over me." And a second later, he's reaching across the cockpit, cuts the other guy's throat. So yeah, they are also, and this only people who are trusted by the sisterhood know this, when they are trained in muscular and nervous control of their own bodies. One of their biggest powers, one of the things he keeps coming back to, is the level of iron control they have over their own. Like they can essentially, it's biofeedback, which was starting to be a big thing in the 50s and into the 60s. They're able to, the legends that came out about, meditating monks in Nepal being able to, slow their own heart rate to a crawl and enter a catatonic state. In this book, they've studied and they can do that same kind of stuff, which also means that they look really unassuming. And the ones that are really senior in the sisterhood are all old women and look like old ladies. Yeah. But if you get into a fight with one of them, they will render you past tense. Right. Like, because in the amount of time it'll take for you to swing at them. Number one, they know when you're going to attack because they can read you. Yeah. And they have such control over everything that they can just, they can dodge, they can grab, they are way, like, they're not unstoppable, but they're way more dangerous than you would think. Right. And so Paul's mother, the Lady Jessica, is a Bene Gesserit. Okay. And we know this from the first couple of pages of the book.
So it's all women that do this, but they're not Vestal virgins or anything.
No, quite the opposite. Because their goal, which is a secret, which only their closest allies know, or their tools really know, is the Bene Gesserit are working to maintain specific gene lines within human society. And so they will be trained and then sent off to work for a noble house. And they will be the consorts. And most of the time, they bear daughters. Okay. Because this is a heavily macho, sexist society. Yeah. Daughters aren't going to wind up getting sent off to combat. Right. And the whole goal is to try to preserve certain bloodlines. Many Bene Gesserit sisters, Lady Jessica amongst them, don't actually know who their mothers are. Oh. And they don't know their own parentage. Okay. And spoiler alert, the book is over 50 years old, so it doesn't really count. We find out that Lady Jessica is actually the daughter of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, who is the one working to engineer the murder of her husband, because the Bene Gesserit want to try to preserve the genetics of House Atreides and the genetics of House Harkonnen. Okay. Because their ultimate goal is to try to breed a messiah, the Kwisatz Haderach, who's going to be able to do... I remember that word. Yes, who's going to be able to do all the psychic shit they can do, which we'll get into more of their psychic stuff in a second. Sure. And then more, who will surpass them. Gotcha. Essentially, a reverend mother of the Bene Gesserit has awakened her perception, has awakened her she's passed through the doors of perception.
Right. Opened her third eye.
And she is able to remember things in ancestral memory.
Oh, okay, cool.
Her own ancestry, the mothers superior and reverend mothers who've come before her, she's able to look back through that memory into the far past.
Okay.
And that's also very useful as advisors because they have the potential to do this incredibly long view. Now the thing is, they're only able to look down the female line.
Well,
the male
right
line is if a reverend mother tries to go down into that part of memory, that will consume her. Render her insane, render her catatonic, kill her, what have you. So the Kwisatz Haderach is going to be a male, essentially Mother Superior, a Reverend Mother, who will be able to look down both paths.
So there's a few things there. One, when you have a group of gibbons, the females.
I love the jumps that get
make
made
up
when we're having these conversations, but yeah,
the females make up the majority of the troop, and males will come in and stay for about 2 months, get laid as much as they can, but then the females will start saying no, and then the males will move on.
Yeah,
and then more males will come in, and it's to preserve their genetic diversity. Actually,
yeah, well,
but the females are choosing their mates. And so they're just kind of there's that aspect of it. Also, this 100% echoes to me the Witches of Dathomir.
Yes.
Or
the Witches of Dathomir 100% echo this.
Yes.
Looking at the timeline, but yes.
But the Witches of Dathomir, and then also I was thinking of I lost it though. It was another Star Wars-y thing, but I've forgotten because the Witches of Dathomir took such focus in terms of that, but very much some of the same powers, some of the same goals.
Yeah,
you have a lot of that, and I just find that very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Paul, we find out very early in the book, Paul was supposed to be a girl.
Okay.
The sisterhood had told Jessica,
"You're gonna have a girl.
You're gonna bear him only daughters." And Jessica fell in love with Leto.
And
gave him a son. Well, no, and she could choose.
Oh, here's the other thing I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
And friend of the show Tessa will point this out as
yes.
well. You can trace DNA along the mother's line.
Yes.
Don't think you can trace it along the father's line as well to get back to your common ancestry.
Yeah. There are traits that show up on the Y chromosome.
Right.
So like we know descent from Genghis Khan being such a common thing because of specifically traits on the Y chromosome. So there is some of that, but yeah, based on our understanding of genetics now, we know that the haploid groups that you're going to be looking for deep ancestry are going to be
maternal DNA.
They're going to be maternal, and then you have mitochondrial DNA.
That's the thing I was thinking,
which is a whole separate thing, which is so large, so much less changed than everything else in our genetic code.
Well, and then it also I said earlier this is a Hebrew story. Or it has a lot of Hebrew overtones. Again, you trace it back from the mother's line, no one else's, and you're breeding for a male Messiah. Yeah. They weren't breeding, but the Messiah that's going to come is going to be a dude.
Of a Messiah.
Yeah.
I would also point out that the Celts were matrilineal.
That's true.
Largely because of their outlook on sexual practices within their culture.
Right.
Like we can't be sure who the father is.
Yeah.
Like we can assume, but
we were all out in the fields, but
we know who you popped out of, so
yes.
we know you're descended. So when we go to train you to be a man in our society, we're going to send you to your mother's brother because we know you're related to him.
Yep. Which is also true in the Hopi, actually.
Okay, yeah. Well, it doesn't surprise me. So the Bene and you mentioned. I think this is a good place to bring it up. You mentioned the Gom Jabbar.
I did
last episode.
I mentioned gibbons.
The needle.
Oh, yeah.
So the Bene Gesserit have a test called the Gom Jabbar.
Okay.
And it's one of the very first things that happens in the book is Paul, who is 15 at the start of the story, the Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam shows up. The whole household is in preparation to make the move from Caladan to Arrakis. So the whole place is a mess and everybody's running around. But in the middle of all that, Gaius Helen Mohiam, who is the Emperor's truthsayer. So she's part of the Emperor's household, and she is Lady Jessica's teacher and superior.
Interesting set of names. Gaius is Roman. Helen is Helen. And then Mohiam,
Again,
Yeah.
Semitic. What we see
Very
over and over
Mediterranean.
again, what we see over and over again within the book is a lot of syncretism. So we hear about the Orange Catholic Bible.
Okay.
Okay. The Fremen follow Zen Sunni religion.
Okay.
Zen
Sunni,
syncretism again.
Yeah.
So again, these are things that are these details that get thrown out at us that give us a very quick picture of just how far in the future we're looking at. And we can see, okay, we know this is a society descended from our own, but it's way different. And there's a lot that we know has happened that we don't know how it happened.
But here we are.
We are. Again, some of this stuff is amazing, and some of it is just so fucking heavy-handed. And so she shows up. Gaius Helen Mohiam shows up, and she's there to give Paul a test.
Okay.
And he says, "What is this going to test?" She says, "We're going to find out whether or not you're a human." And she says, "Here's
a blue
box.
book.
A box.
Oh, okay.
Here's a box." And he says, "What's in the box?" She says, "Pain." And she tells him, and she uses voice on him.
Oh, okay.
Which he has been trained by his mother to know when it's being used and to be a little bit resistant. But guys, Helen Mohiam
she's so much
80
older
levels
more
higher.
experienced.
Yeah, that
he can't counterspell.
He tries, but he winds up shoving his right hand
okay
in the box. And
step one, got a hole in the box.
He feels an itching. First a tingle that
turns
into an itch
that
turns into a burn, and he envisions like the flesh peeling off, boiling and just in blackened flesh peeling away, and he's certain that he's going to pull away a stump, but he sits there and he takes it and he takes it and he takes it and he takes it, and sweat beads up all over his because after his hand is in the box, she says,
"Oh, she's got the needle.
The needle I have at your neck is called the Gom Jabbar. If you move, if you try to remove your hand, I will prick you with this needle, and the poison on it will have you dead before your body hits the floor." And he says, my mother won't let you do that. My mother will call for guards. She says, "Your mother is the one guarding the door for me to do this."
Oh, damn.
She underwent this same test.
Oh.
And she passed it. Let's see if you can.
Wow. Okay.
And
by the way, what he's doing is what Gaius Mucius did. Because my right hand failed me when I tried to kill King Porsenna.
Yeah.
And instead I killed his scribe. This is the hand that failed me. This is the hand that goes into the fire. And he sticks it into the fire, and Porsenna's like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
Really?
Yeah, and then they pull him out, and they're like, "Who the shit are you?" And because, they said, "Oh, we've caught you. Why'd you kill the king's scribe?" He's like, "I'm sorry. I was trying to kill your king. My bad. I'm out." And then they catch him, and he's like, "This hand failed me." And he started hokey pokey. And then they pull him out, and Porsenna's like, "The shit's going on here?" And he's like, "I'm just an average Roman. There's a lot of crazier motherfuckers back there. You might kill me, but there's gonna be 10 more of me coming after you tomorrow." Porsenna's like, "Right, we're packing up. Everybody, let's go. These stakes are too high. Pull them out, and let's get." And he goes back and he tells everybody what happened, because it was this siege that was happening, because goddamn Tullus Hostilius is picking fights. And they're like, "Gaius, what happened?" He's like, "Well, I did all this, and then I burnt my hand off." And they're like, "From now on, we'll call you a lefty." That's the story. But they call him Skywola, Mucius, but Gaius Mucius Skywola.
Oh, wow.
So, but the name Gaius, and then he's got to stick his hand in a thing. Okay.
I don't know how extensive Herbert's classics education was, but
back then I got a feeling it was
probably better than
more,
ours. Probably, yeah. So
okay.
So anyway, the lesson and the philosophy that comes out of all this is eventually, because she could read his reactions,
right?
And so just through sheer empathy, she kind of starts sweating too, because she realizes how much he's actually going through. Because the longer his hand is in the box, the worse it gets, and the worse it gets. And eventually, she pulls the needle away and says, "All right, yeah, take your hand out. You pass, young human."
And it's all totally fine.
And it's all totally fine. And it worked through nerve induction, and it was
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said the lesson here is an animal would chew off its own hand to escape the trap. A human would remain and wait to kill the individual that had set the trap.
Okay.
So again, cunning.
Right.
Thinking, the ability to think multiple steps ahead. Right. All that kind of stuff being stressed. And it's remarked right at that point early on in the book, it gets remarked, he got farther than any man-child ever has.
So they just kill the shit out of all the man-children that they do this to.
We don't know for sure
or they read these kids so well that they're like, okay, I know when he's going to quit, and then I'll pull it away.
Or they put him through the test, and the ones that don't do well enough get the Gom Jabbar.
Okay.
Because we know there's another character. There's another character who shows up who's relatively minor but kind of important.
Okay.
Doesn't have a lot of time in the book, but plays an important role in the plot. No, another man.
Oh, I thought you said a relative who's minor. So.
Oh, nice. But another character, Count Fenring, who was a near miss at creating a Kwisatz Haderach, shows up in the book. He was the Bene Gesserit's failed. Almost did it, but couldn't quite.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so we know, or we can surmise, he's been through it, and he's 20 years older than Paul is. So, clearly they didn't stick him.
Right. So they probably have to kill a certain amount so that people know this shit matters. But again, they have
discretion.
Yeah. And nobody said it has to be, you gotta stand for 2 minutes with your hand there. It's whatever they say. And if they're reading you, then they know what your breaking point is, and they could pull it off just at the last second and give you a renewed sense of self.
Yeah, whatever.
Kind of cool.
Depending on what their goals are.
I like it.
All right. So they're working to try to breed the Kwisatz Haderach. And at the very beginning of the book, we find out it's possible Paul might be the Kwisatz Haderach. But Gaius Helen tells Jessica, don't get your hopes up.
Okay.
Don't, because, we can find ways to protect you. We can find ways to protect him, because we've spent literally generations trying to preserve these two bloodlines.
Right.
We had hoped that we could marry your daughter to the Harkonnen heir, unify the two bloodlines, and preserve them that way. You fucked that up. There's really heavy-handed with the you dummy.
Yeah.
How do you?
Why'd you fall in love?
Why did you have to go do this? And so anyway, but it's like, we're gonna do what we can. You're one of us, so we're gonna do what we can to protect you.
Sure.
We have stuff in place on Arrakis already to prepare for you. We'll do what we can to try to save him, because he's important. He just proved he's a human, so he's worth something.
Sure.
But his father is dead. Like, we can't do anything for him. He's going into a trap.
Okay.
He knows he's going into a trap. He thinks he's going to be able to find a way out of it. No.
And he's not.
No, he's fucked.
Right. Okay.
And so that's our introduction to the Bene Gesserit. That's our introduction to Paul being the Kwisatz Haderach.
Okay.
Like, all of this happens within a matter of a couple of pages. And so it's really important character details. It's really important world building details. But again, to make the plot something I could summarize in less than 5 minutes, we had to summarize around it. Okay, so now in the setting, we have one of the most important advisors within the Atreides house is the Mentat Thufir Hawat, who is Paul's teacher, Paul's tutor, one of his trainers in
knife
in
fighting
tactics and security. less in the physical art of knife fighting and more in strategy and like warfare, studying the history of warfare. And
right.
Here's a problem, figure out how to solve this problem, logical thinking, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And mentats are humans who have been trained to sift data and analyze it at incredible speeds.
Okay.
To replace thinking machines, which were outlawed after the Butlerian Jihad in the ancient history of this universe. There are no computers in Dune. There are humans who have been trained and or drugged or some combination of the two to act as computers. Navigators consume vast quantities of spice and have a certain amount of mentat-like training in order to look into the future and analyze things in order to navigate it faster than light speed.
Sure.
Mentats are human computers. They are humans who have been trained over the course of their entire childhood into their early adulthood to take data and make third and fourth and fifth order calculations and suppositions based on it. And the Butlerian Jihad is an explanation for why we have these things. I mean, the function that mentats and Suk doctors and, I mean, the Bene Gesserit are another example of kind of the same thing. It's humans being trained to a level of superhumanness in some category, in some ability, in some set of abilities, being transcending their humanity.
Okay.
So there's a very strong streak of post-humanism or transhumanism. I don't remember which one better applies here in what Herbert was talking about. And so the in-universe explanation for this is that sometime in our future, artificial intelligences pulled a Judgment Day, turn on humanity, and then there's this massive war across 1,000 different star systems because humanity is spread out vastly during this time. And so there's this huge war between humanity and the machines. And at the end of the Butlerian Jihad, the machines, all sentient machinery, all complicated electronic computers get destroyed. And thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind.
Okay.
Is a phrase out of the Orange Catholic Bible in setting. It is literally Holy Writ. Thou shalt not do this.
Okay.
Okay. And so to replace computers, which during Herbert's lifetime, a computer had gotten small enough that you could that it would take up a corner of a large room. Right. And so this is again another example of kind of the failure of science fiction writers to have enough imagination to look far enough into the future. We to
get to miniaturization,
to get to miniaturization, to get to the level of power involved in modern computers.
Sure.
And so again, but there's heavy duty post-humanism going on. And the last example I want to get to before we break at this point, because we're getting close to kind of our
normal rhythm,
kind of rhythm, is the Navigators Guild, and I've mentioned them a few times.
Sure.
The Navigators Guild pilot massive ships called highliners, and a highliner is this huge, vast, essentially it's like a huge, vast cargo box.
Space dirigible.
Essentially that other ships, frigates, which will be, the size of a large building. Think like a skyscraper. That's the size of a frigate. In this setting. And there will be dozens or hundreds of frigates in the belly of a highliner. And the navigator, high level navigators are almost never seen by normal humans. Their appearance is kept a secret. They swim literally in a tank that's kept, if they're in a planetary gravity well, they have suspensor globes so they don't actually have to fight against gravity because they spend 99% of their life outside of a gravity well. and they float in a cloud of spice gas. And over time, this causes them to lose their humanity.
Okay.
Partly because they spend all of their time in this expanded state of consciousness, looking into the future kind of reflexively all the time. And because this immense amount of spice they're imbibing extends their lifespan, so they could be hundreds of years old.
Sure.
And it changes their body. They wind up becoming fish-like with elongated, webbed hands and feet, and their features get distorted.
Okay.
They don't wind up looking like the creature in the Lynch movie.
Okay.
And in the original novel, we don't see that level of Guild Navigator.
Okay.
We don't see that level of Guild Navigator until the second book in the series.
Okay.
And he doesn't look like that.
Okay.
That's all Lynch getting Freudian on us. So, and now the Navigators Guild has control over the space lanes. If I'm a noble and I have a feud with another noble house, and I want to take territory from another noble, I have to get my army aboard ships and then pay the guild to carry my army from my planet to the other guy's planet in order to fuck him up.
Right.
Okay. And the guild essentially acts as the market term being an honest broker. It's like, well, all right, here's the fee.
You go from here to here.
You go from here to here.
Yeah.
They do differentiate rates for military expeditions versus regular trade.
Sure.
There are throwaway lines made when Harkonnen, with the Emperor's support, invades Arrakis. The Emperor repeatedly talks about, do you have any idea how much money I had to spend to the guild to transport? He literally says at one point, I'm going to be paying that debt off for years. And he usually says that to a representative of the Emperor, like, no. I'm keeping the Emperor's secret here. Don't try to bully me.
Right.
Do you know, like, no. The Emperor gave me his Sardaukar, but I'm the one taking all the risks. I'm the one spent all the fucking money.
Right.
Don't come here trying to push me the fuck around. Like, no.
I'm the money guy.
Yeah, it doesn't wind up working. But anyway, and so the guild has this monopoly over interstellar trade. And so Dune is incredibly important to them because it's the only place that the spice can be procured.
Oh, okay.
And I think we're gonna stop there before I get to start talking about the houses, the Landsrat or Choam or the Fremen or any of that stuff.
Okay.
So, what do you take away from this at this point?
Well, okay, so he writes this in the early 60s and it's published in 65.
Yes.
So, and at that point, we're still about 15 years, I think, from Said writing Orientalism. I think.
Sounds about right.
But at that point, there is a lot of Orientalism. And it sounds like he's going right along with that.
Yeah.
This is prior to the really huge step up in terrorism.
Yeah.
So it's not like there weren't conflicts. There's, in 67, there's a war.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But like you still have this fetishization of the East on some levels.
Well, it's exoticism.
Yeah. Well, it's, as Said said, it's,
yeah.
Orientalism. And you have this at the time when Europeans are extricating themselves from these spaces too.
Yeah.
So I find that little interplay interesting. Putting women into positions of tremendous power sounds very much like soft sci-fi. We're going to invert this aspect of society.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes some sense.
My own critique of it is, and we're going to get into this in more detail when we get to talking about themes, but there's a lot of the trope of Mighty Whitey involved in this.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is a baked-in level of sexism. It's going to take a male figure to be the one who can see down both lines.
Right.
You know, and to anybody, to a male writer in the 1960s.
Of course it does.
Well, of course. Like, I mean, come on. There's just a set of assumptions baked into the worldview involved in that.
Yep.
But, like, you know, as a modern critique of it, like, you know, that's kind of sexist. Also, the female organization is the one obsessed with maintaining bloodlines and nurturing genetic material.
Right. But they're doing it in a very devious feminine way. There is overt reference to, you know, them regularly using sex and, you know, marriage as their tools. Right.
I mean, it's way 60s. Like it's very much a product of its time in that sense. And if somebody was going to try to explore these ideas today, I'd really like to see somebody take the concepts that are involved in this from a non-European, non-male point of view.
Yeah.
And fiddle with these tropes from a different viewpoint. And like, I'd love to try to do it, but I'm a cishet white guy.
Right.
So, like, I don't have the genuine lived experience to really feel like I would be genuinely doing that.
Yeah.
So I wish somebody else would, though, because I'd love to see the other viewpoints.
Sure.
That could come out of it.
Yeah, so that's we focused a lot on the women who's the group's
Bene
name.
Gesserit.
Bene Gesserit. We focused a lot on them, so I think that's most of my takeaway.
Okay.
Got anything for people to read?
Not this time.
Okay.
No, I don't. How about you?
I do, actually. We talked last time about the fall of a bunch of empires, and I told you about the soft spot I have for Patrice Lumumba.
Yeah.
There is a book called The Assassination of Lumumba by Ludo DeWitt. It's awful. And it's really well done. Don't get me wrong. It's fantastic history.
But the story is gut-wrenching.
Yes.
Okay.
It's really awful. Like the detail that it goes into is very hard, but it's an important read.
Okay.
I absolutely recommend that. So where can people find you on the social medias?
I can be found on social media at Blaylock on the Twitter machine. I can also be found at that same address on Instagram. And I can be found as Mr. Blaylock. They call me Mr. Blaylock on TikTok, on which I don't do an awful lot, but you can look me up there. And where can they find you?
You look for me at Harmony on both Twitter and Insta. You'll find me there. You can also find me every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on twitch.tv/Capital Puns. Those are enough. Well, no, there's also my YouTube show that I do with Ian McDonald, and it's on YouTube. You just type in Marvel Strike Force, Excelsior Gaming, and you'll find us. And it's a lot of fun. It's just kind of me hosting him and making dumb jokes. So
all right.
It's a lot of fun, yeah. So, for A Geek History of Time...
Oh, wait, we haven't told them where...
You can find
you can find both of us collectively at Geek History Time.
Yes.
On Twitter. Also at our website, geekhistorytime.com.
Also, you found us already. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, you can tell people to find us on Spotify, Stitcher, and the
Apple
iTunes podcast app. So find us there. Subscribe, rate us, review us, let us know what you think. Throw stuff into the Twitters to let us know what subjects we should cover. If you just want an episode that's only one episode long and self-contained, for instance. So
yeah,
we used to do that.
Challenge us.
Yeah. So anyway, for A Geek History of Time, I am Damian Harmony.
And I'm Ed Blaylock. And until next time, keep rolling 20s.